Okay, so today, fifth graders, our lesson is lesson 3.9, and we're going to be learning about subtracting decimals. So subtracting decimals is really similar to our addition with decimals. It's really easy and very similar to what we would just do with basic addition and subtraction. The most important thing you need to remember, and this is a tip, that when we subtract, we need to make sure that the most important thing is that we keep our decimal points lined up, straight, and perfect. So in your notes, I want you to add a little note here that you always want to line up decimal points first. Okay? So what exactly does this mean? So let's say, for example, I have this as one of my problems. I have 3.197, and I'm subtracting that from 1.243, okay? So the first thing I obviously want to do is I want to stack it and line up my decimal points. So let's start. Okay, now below I need to line up my decimals, and then I can subtract. So I know that my first number here, 7 minus 3, is going to be 4. 9 minus 4 is going to give me 5. Okay, and 1 minus 2. Now we have a problem. I can't do that. So I need to do some regrouping. So I need to borrow from the 3, that becomes a 2, and this becomes an 11. So 11 minus 2 is going to give me 9. My decimal point comes straight down, and now 2 minus 1 is 1. So my final answer is right here. So what also they may ask you when you are doing your assignment is they might ask you to find an estimate. Okay? And I know estimates are something that we struggle with. So I'm going to show you an easy way to find the estimate. One way that we can easily find the estimate is by looking at the first two numbers here. Okay, so I want us to think in our head, before we did any math, 3 minus 1 is going to give us 2. So that's just our estimate is going to be 2. Now, estimates can always change. Everyone may have a different answer, but for the purpose of what we're doing, I want you to only look at those whole numbers, everything to the left of the decimal, and I want you to solve that first, and that's going to give you the estimate. Okay, so let's try another. So let's say that we have 11.63 minus 6.7. So this is where lining up our decimals is going to be really important. So let's take down our first number, and I'm going to put a box around this so we know that that is our problem. And we have 11.63 minus, and we need to line up our decimal. What I'd like to tell students is put your decimal first. That way you know exactly where that goes. To the right of the decimal, I have a 7. To the left of the decimal, I have a 6. Okay, now what might help some students is to put a 0 here. That way you know that you are subtracting 0. Okay, so you don't get yourself confused. This number here is also a 0. Okay, so let's take a look here. To find the first thing I want you to find is the estimate. So remember I told you when we're working with estimate, we want to look at these first, the whole numbers, everything to the left of the decimal. So this is pretty easy. What is 11 minus 6? Well, we know, just simple math, that 11 minus 6 is 5. So our estimate is about 5. Okay, so now let's take a look at doing the actual math here. So what is 3 minus 0? Well, that's easy. That's 3. 6 minus 7. Uh-oh, I have a problem. I can't quite do this yet. So I need to borrow from here. So let's see. Maybe I want to borrow from this 11, make it a 10, and make this 16. So now I have, what is 16 minus 7? Well, I know 16 minus 7 is going to give me 9. I bring my decimal down. Now I have 10 minus 6, which is 4. Now let's look at this number. We know that 4 and 93 hundredths is about 5 because this 9 is a big number here. That's almost 5. So my estimate of 5 checks out. That means that it looks good. So like I said, remember, today's lesson is pretty easy. You're just doing regular subtraction except for you're lining up your decimal points and then bringing it straight down. All right, guys. Like I said, I'll meet with you guys on the carpet when it's your turn for your rotation, and we can go ahead and practice this a little bit more. You do have quite a bit more problems today to do, depending on what group you're in, only because these are a little bit simpler that we can work through, and I want to make sure that you get some practice.